Hi, I'm Dr. Eddie Ramirez, and welcome to this series on mental health. I am a physician and a researcher, and I travel around the world teaching people how to live more healthy. Let's start with this important topic of mental health with an interesting story of one of our patients. We have Christy. And Christy, she grew up in a good family, but unfortunately, as she started hanging around with the wrong type of friends, very soon she was starting to get involved with addictions. Her life started going out of control, and very soon she was having severe mental health problems. Well, her parents knew about one of our programs, and they actually tricked Christy. They told Christy, hey, why don't you come? We're going to take you to a spa so you can get, some relaxation and some good massage and so forth, which we actually do. So we do some massage and this type of things, but it's not a spa, I can assure you of that. So when Christy got there, she felt tricked, so she tried to escape the program. So we got her. She tried to escape a second time. We got her again. She tried to escape a third time. We got her again. She tried to escape a fourth time, and we got her again. And we had a staff meeting, and we said, you know what? We need to do something about Christy, because if not, Christy is no longer going to be in this program very soon. So we decided that somebody was going to sleep outside the door of Christy, one of the staff members. So in case Christy tried to escape in the middle of the night, she would have to stumble there with the staff member, and she was going to be able to be stopped. And something happened to Christy. As she started seeing that the other patients were getting better, their mental health was improving, she actually felt that we really wanted to help her, and she decided to start cooperating finally with the program. To the point that when she finished the program, she was feeling really, really well. It has been a long time since the last time she felt so well. In fact, as we finished, she actually requested to stay longer so that she could get all the benefits that she could potentially was going to receive. And today, Christy is completely depression-free. She doesn't take a single medication. She has been able to overcome those addictions. In fact, her life is a life of service. She spends a lot of her free time doing seminars and programs, helping others improve their health. She is happily married. She just finished a graduate degree, and her life has been completely transformed as a result of embracing the lifestyle changes that brought her to health. So that's exactly what I want to talk to you in this series. As you can see, this is not just one program. This is our introductory program in which we're going to show you the overall picture of what we do with depression. In fact, you can hear the testimony of Christy if you Google 3ABN by the word of their testimony. 3ABN by the word of their testimony, Christy. And if you Google those words, you can literally hear in her own voice the testimony of Christy. And what we're going to be doing, we're going to be talking about something called lifestyle medicine. See, it is, as I tell my patients, as if a faucet of water is broken, the water is pouring down on the floor. We have two strategies to try to solve this. We can actually have a very expensive mop and start removing the water from the floor that is constantly being dropped. That's one way of kind of solving the problem, or, in my opinion, a better option would be to ask the question, what's causing the problem? And let's go and fix the source that is causing the problem. That is what lifestyle medicine does. And the reality, as one of the top publications in the world, journal Nature, was showing, depression is increasing worldwide. Worldwide, we have 400 million people with depression. In fact, in that article, it says that you're more likely to be healed of cancer than of depression, because depression is becoming too chronic. In fact, in that article, it says that only 28% of the people that take medication for depression, they feel healed. The rest of them are, continue to struggle, sometimes the side effects of the medication, sometimes the depression is not improving, and so forth. Is there something we can do? Absolutely yes. We were documenting from a nice big sample of 1,000 people how, in a matter of 10 days, depression goes from moderate severe to no depression. And the same story with anxiety, going to a very high, moderate type of anxiety to no anxiety. What do? We ask the question, what's causing the problem, and we reverse those causes of the problem. So internationally, the way that we make a diagnosis for depression is using a book by the name of DSM-5. And this book describes 9 symptoms, and if somebody has 5 out of these 9 symptoms for more than 2 weeks without an obvious emotional trauma that just happened, recently, this is what we diagnose with major depression. So in screen you can see those 9 symptoms. Let's just go briefly through each one of them. First symptom, deep sadness. Males and females represent the symptom differently. Among the males, they say, "Doctor, something is wrong inside of me. I cannot put my finger where the problem is, but I know something is not right." That's the way that males represent this symptom. Females tend to represent this symptom by feeling very sad and crying spontaneously. In fact, they come to me and tell me, "Doctor, I don't even know what I'm crying. This little silly thing made me cry. I don't know what's wrong with me. Something is not right with me." That's deep sadness. 2, apathy. The person wakes up in the morning and they are not looking forward at facing the day that is about to start. And some of my patients come and tell me, "Doctor, my problem is that I'm getting old," they say, and old people feel like that. No, old people shouldn't be feeling like that. As you wake up in the morning, you should have enthusiasm for the problems and blessings that you're going to be seeing throughout the day. Third symptom, agitation. The person loses his patience very easy. The person gets irritated and so forth with just simple little things. That is the symptom number 3. Symptom number 4, classic symptom for the depressed, sleep disturbances. The patient is having issues with their sleep, and the classic thing that happens, they wake up at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., and what happened? They cannot go back to sleep. In fact, how early you are waking up is directly related to how severe your depression is. See, somebody that has severe depression, it's going to have a very early awakening, And as the mental health starts to improve, you will see that we'll start shifting until it becomes like a normal type of sleep, waking up at 6 a.m. or somewhere along there. So sleep problems can be both extremes, not sleeping enough or sleeping too much. In our program, we get patients that are sleeping 14, 16 hours a day. And you know what they tell us? After sleeping 16 hours, they say, doctor, I wish I could sleep a little bit longer. I still feel tired. So any of these both extremes would qualify for that symptom. Next one, weight or appetite changes. The patient is many times using food as medication. See, that's what we call the comfort foods. As the mood of the person goes down, the person may not know about nutrition and biochemistry, but they know that if they go and reach for the chocolate, that somehow makes them feel better. If they go and eat sugary type of things, that helps them feel better. If they go and eat white flour, refined type of foods, that makes them feel better. If they go and reach for the caffeine and so forth, that makes them feel better. So unfortunately, these things just work temporarily. So they feel better, and then it crashes again. So then here they are throughout the whole day eating, so that they can artificially change their mood. Those calories accumulate, the person ends up gaining weight. So gaining weight, having too much appetite will be one of the symptoms, or the other extreme. The person is just not eating enough. The supper is served, and the person sits down, takes 1 or 2 spoonfuls, and they say, oh, I'm fine, I don't want to eat anymore. And they just don't eat. And just using common sense, the chemistry of my brain is composed of the food I'm eating. If I'm not eating the right type of food, my mind cannot have proper nutrition, therefore the symptoms of depression. In fact, these people that don't want to eat, not even the medication for depression works for them because they don't have those building blocks to make that right chemistry. Next one, lack of concentration. The person is trying to do their work, the person is trying to do their school, and somehow they cannot focus. Their mind is not focusing enough. And as we're going to be learning throughout this series, this has to do with the frontal lobe of the brain. So if that frontal lobe is not working properly, you're going to have symptoms of depression, and that's this problem of lack of concentration. Next one, feelings of worthlessness. So the person thinks that they're not important, that they don't have any value, that in fact sometimes you start getting these wrong ideas. It would be better if I was not even here. I cannot add value to my family, to my work, to my school. And that's not right. You are an important person. So the reason why you feel like that is that chemistry in the brain is not correct. Next one, morbid thoughts. In this one, the person is thinking a lot about disease, is thinking a lot about death, is thinking about harming themselves or harming others. You heard those bad news in America that people start shooting to others. That is morbid thoughts that are being acted. I actually done research on that subject, how as you make those right lifestyle changes, that mental health will improve and those morbid thoughts are going to start going away. And the last symptom, the symptom of fatigue. The person has this tiredness that it just doesn't go away with anything. In fact, they come to me and said, Doctor, I just got back from a vacation. I don't understand why I'm so tired. I shouldn't be feeling so tired. And as we start asking the symptoms, sure enough, there's 5 out of those 9 symptoms present. In fact, if there's only 2 or 4 of these symptoms present, that's what we call a minor depression. It's not a full depression, but not everything is normal. If you want to take this test by yourself, just Google PHQ9 and Finnish, and you can get this test in Finnish, and you answer these 9 questions, and it will tell you the severity of your depression. And the problem with depression is that it not only starts affecting your mind, it starts affecting your overall health, your immune system, your hormonal system, your relationships, your autoimmune conditions, addictions, and many other things get worse when depression is on board. Statistics tells us that 1 out of 4 females are going to experience depression at some period of their life. Among male is 1 out of 8 people. And what about suicide? There was a very interesting study that was done in San Francisco, California. San Francisco, California, the beautiful Golden Gate Bridge. I used to live actually quite close to that bridge. And sadly, many people go there to commit suicide. They stop in the middle of that bridge and they jump, and it's a long ways down where the water is. Well, believe it or not, there's some people that have survived the jump. So a very smart researcher went to find those people and asked them so we could understand better what is somebody that is trying to commit suicide, what are they thinking? So he found the small group of people that survived the jump and asked them the following questions. Question number 1, did you want to commit suicide? They said, yes, I wanted to commit suicide. Question number 2, are you glad that you didn't finish your suicidal attempt? Yes, I'm very glad that I didn't finish my suicidal attempt. So I said, wait a minute. First you're telling me that you wanted to commit suicide. Now you're telling me that you're happy that you didn't complete that suicidal attempt. When did you change your mind? Good question, isn't it? They said, well, as soon as my feet left solid ground, I realized I was making the biggest mistake in my life. So, as you can see, depression increases impulsivity, and that impulsivity is what makes a person to say, act, and do things that they shouldn't, then later on they regret. So, what can we do for depression? Well, you can see in the screen the study that we made, in which we asked the question, what's causing the depression? And this is what we do for depression. We identify the causes of depression and reverse those causes. You can see in the screen those 10 hit categories. These are the 10 things that trigger the depression. So let's just go briefly through each one of them. The way that it works, this is we wrote this paper asking the question, what's causing depression? We checked the scientific literature. We found more than 100 different causes of depression. So we group those 100 plus causes into 10 groups of causes. And it is our hypothesis, our idea, if somebody has 4 or more of these groups of causes active, then they're going to have depression. I'm going to go very briefly through each one of them. As we go on this series, we're going to go more in depth into each one of them. So don't feel, that you missed the information. Keep watching the series and you will understand this with much more detail. So let's go briefly. So you have number 1, the genetic factor. It will qualify for genetic factor if you have family with depression, family that had attempted or committed suicide. There's a possibility you may carry some of those depression genes. Number 2, developmental. This has to do with the way you grew up. If you grew up in a home in which you had suffered any form of abuse, that would qualify for this. If you grew up in a home in which alcohol was abused, there was drug addictions in that household, that will qualify for that developmental. If you are a female and your first menstrual period happened before the age of 11, that will qualify for developmental. If you didn't grow up with both biological parents, that would qualify for developmental. Now here's the bad news, good news. Bad news is that factor number 1 and factor number 2, genetic and developmental, you cannot do much about it. These things happen in the past. The good news is that the rest of the 8 are potentially reversible. Number 3, lifestyle. It will qualify for the lifestyle factor if you don't have a regular exercise program, if you don't breathe fresh air from outside on a regular basis. In other words, you spend too much time inside buildings. And a big one for Finland, you are not being exposed to bright light early in the day. Some Finnish people have a genetic advantage of being able to thrive even though it's nice and dark, but there's a group number of Finnish people that need that brightness. When you go down to Spain, to Portugal, to Greece, you kind of awaken because of the sunlight. You may be needing to invest in one of these bright light boxes so that you can get that brightness, especially in the winter months, that is going to help you feel better. That's factor number 3, lifestyle. Circadian rhythms. You are not regular in your lifestyle. In other words, you don't have regular times of eating. You don't have regular times of sleeping every night. You go to bed at different times. You wake up at different times. And that disorder is not good for your health. So can you do something about this? Yes, you can put order in your life. Factor number 5, addictions. And this one is a big problem. It will qualify for factor of addictions if you are taking any form of benzodiazepines like alprazolam, lorazepam, Xanax, this type of medications. If you're taking strong type of narcotic medication, if you are using any type of illegal drug, if you are a marijuana user, if you are a tobacco user, if you are a caffeine user, pornography, this type of things will cause the mental health to go down. So, can you overcome addictions? Yes, it's possible with the help of God to overcome addictions. We'll come back to that in another program. Next one, nutrition. As I told you, this one is logical. What we eat becomes our neurochemistry. If I don't eat the good type of food, that's going to have a harmful effect in my mind. You will qualify for this if you're eating too much junk food on a regular basis, you're eating a very high protein diet in the long term, that's not good for your mental health, or you're lacking certain key nutrients like you're not eating enough tryptophan, vitamin B, calcium, iron, folate, these type of things. We need to eat these things from our food. We need to have a whole food diet. We'll be talking about that later in another program. 7, toxins. You've been exposed to lead, to cadmium, but especially to mercury. That's the most common toxin here in Finland. Microplastics, we'll come back to that. Microplastic also later in another lecture. 8, 3 factors. You have the social factor, which means you don't belong to something like a church that meets on a regular basis. You're not getting that social support. You are under a lot of stress, or you lost something important and you have not been able to overcome. Any of these 3 will qualify for that. Then 9, medical condition, which is the exception of the rule. You have problems like a cancer, autoimmune condition, you have problems in your liver, you have certain viral infections like hepatitis C, you have a diabetes that is not well under control. So what you need is a good medical professional to help you overcome that. That's how you're going to overcome that one. And finally, the frontal lobe of the brain. The frontal lobe is where research shows we have our spirituality, our will, we have there our ability to make our judgments. So things that impair the frontal lobe and not doing enough things to improve the frontal lobe, that's going to cause depression. So the research is very clear. Anything that suppresses the frontal lobe will have a negative effect on your mental health. So what do? We start, number one, identifying those causes of depression and actively reversing them. And we start helping improve the function of the frontal lobe through things like what? Through things like spirituality, things like prayer and Bible study. Those things are good to activate your frontal lobe. Things like hot and cold showers. Or you can do this in your sauna. As you go in the sauna and then later on you get that cold shower, that hot and cold has very positive effects on your mental health. So I have spent, the last 30 years of my life working in these lifestyle center settings, and I have so many studies. The Lord has given me the opportunity of publishing 168 studies about dealing with the root causes of depression. So what we need is to identify the causes of depression and reversing them. So throughout this series, we're going to be dealing with those different factors and what type of things we need to be reversing to improve the mental health. In closing, I just want to share this interesting study, how people that have intrinsic religiosity, that's the religiosity that is inside you and not just in the outside, they recover faster and they improve their mental health, and they have that protective element. So what we need to do, we need to come back to dealing with the root causes, and then you will be able to overcome depression. So as you can see, there's a lot to cover in this next series of programs. Stay tuned and continue to participate of these programs so that you can learn how to overcome and heal. With the help of God, it is possible. I am Dr. Eddie Ramirez.